All right, everybody. Well, I want to welcome you to my first ever live stream here on YouTube. Glad to have you all here. I'm going to try to figure out how to get my screen on this thing. That's obviously the big thing that we're trying to do here. So once again, I got all kinds of things I want to discuss over the next, let's call it an hour. I want to talk about the overall stock market. I want to talk about Bitcoin. I want to talk about Riot Blockchain. I want to talk about some of these stocks that are being really, I don't want to call it manipulated, but let's just say there's a lot of buying pressure and selling pressure on a certain few stocks. I want to finish up showing everybody in the room how I find these particular stocks. So let me go ahead and see what I can do here real quick with my encoder and see if we got the encoder working. And so that's what I really want to show everybody is I want to show the encoder. And so give me a second here to find this. I know you can see me on the screen. You can see the Bloomberg terminal behind me. But the question is, can you see my screen? And that's what I'm really trying to push here, guys, is I'm trying to push the screen here to everyone. So give me just a moment as we're looking for that. Market's off a bit today. I'm looking at whether or not this is actually going to be a rollover day that could lead to something more, or if we're really just getting a bit of a pause here in the market. So let me see what's going on as we're getting started here. I see everything I need to, with the exception of where my encoder is. So I'm working on that right now. Guys do have live chat up and running. Laura, thank you very much. I know I got no screen. I know that, except the one here in front of me. I could do old school and do this, but that's not going to work. I do actually have a wireless webcam, and that kind of that'll work for about 5 minutes, and then of course that'll get old really quick. So let me look at the streaming section here. Okay, now it looks like I went completely frozen. Again, guys, this is what happens when you got an old guy like me that's double nickels trying to play a young man's game on YouTube Live. I am going to figure this out. It just might take me a few minutes, but anyway, welcome everybody. Glad to have you here. I probably could put this thing right through my my live casting equipment here too, but didn't think that was going to be an issue. But thank you very much, Jet. Appreciate the comments. I've had a really good last couple of months. I have to say, most of it I've got to give credit to Bitcoin and what I did last year in Bitcoin. So for those of you that don't know, I was a miner back in 2013, and I took a mining machine and I put it in the garage of my house because my wife wouldn't. Well, actually, I'll take that back. I put it in the loft in our house, and it was so loud that my wife abandoned it to the garage. Then the garage got so hot, it was like in the high 90s in there because of the equipment that was running. And so after about 6 months, she decided that thing had to go. So now she regrets that, because we're seeing Bitcoin, which was trading for hundreds of dollars at the time, hundreds of dollars a coin, to now, well over 50,000. She regrets that decision, but I was buying after that. I started buying, and my last purchase, my last big purchase on Bitcoin was a 6-figure purchase. And it was back just after the pandemic, when we really started learning about it back in March and April. And from there, I then made a couple of pretty decent sized purchases. But to see the account go up as much as it has, now I've actually starting to figure out, I'm trying to look at selling opportunities in that. And the selling opportunities I'm looking for is, when do I start taking some off the table? Because it's gone from a from a 5-figure account last year to a 6-figure account to a 7-figure account to now it's gotten pretty big. So now I got to start figuring out when to take this off. And so I've got some ideas, and I'll share them in some later videos with all of you. But again, this is, I want to welcome you guys. Very first live stream I've done that I'm doing, and here we go. I can't figure out right now how to get the screen to look like what I can see right now. And so I see the screen right now, and it seems to be what I'm seeing and what you're seeing are two completely different things. And that is very sad because I wanted to show so much more in here. And so I will do this. If you guys want to hang out with me for a bit, let me see what I can do here with a couple of the other things I got going on. Uno momento, as I want to try a couple of things here that I've got all kinds of equipment here. It's just a matter of getting some of this to actually work. So let me try something else here. I've got this this Blackmagic webcam that I utilize this for recordings, and I utilize this on Vimeo, and I utilize this on GoToWebinar, and I might even use it on Zoom. But let's just see what this does, and let's see if I can get something here that will show a screen. All right, you know what I've got? Let's take a look and see what I have. Okay, so I'm still sitting here on YouTube. Let's try this. All right, I'm obviously I can't edit. All right, guys, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna make this a short live stream today. I apologize. I thought I had everything ready to go. In fact, if you want to see what I'm looking at, I'm gonna show you right now. So I've got this ready to go here, and like I said, you know, I can do the there. That's what I'm looking at. This is what I'm looking at. Let's flip the screen around so you don't see yourself looking at yourself here. There we go. So that's what I'm looking at. See myself way down there in the corner holding the camera. And my plan was to go through this and talk about I want to talk about, again, market news. I want to talk about stocks, bonds, currencies, commodities. I want to talk about FANG. I want to talk about blockchain. I want to talk about Bitcoin. And I want to show you how to find cheap and expensive options. However, what seems to be working, or what seems to be happening with me right now, is the only thing I got going on is the screen in front of me. So, you know, once again, I apologize for being an idiot and not being able to give you guys, you know, what I thought was going to be a real live stream. So that's what I get for downloading OBS and trying to figure out how to use it just late last week and early this week to broadcast to you. Greetings to everybody. Gary's coming to us from Germany. What are we, about 6 hours ahead out there, Gary? Are you just finishing up dinner? It's I wish I could tell you guys what I got going on. I'll tell you what I will do. I'm going to do some audibles with you here, and we'll make this short and sweet. I don't want to waste any of your time. I certainly don't want to waste mine. I want to figure out how to do this right, and then we'll come back next week and we'll try it again. S&P's down about 4 points right now, SPY. And when I look at the E-mini, and the E-mini that I look at is the E-mini futures contract, we're down about 41 on the day. So we're down about 1% on the markets. You all know that. What I would want to do is I want to talk about some stuff that you might not know. I mean, because you could go anywhere on YouTube, you can go anywhere on television to find the stuff, to find people saying the S&P's up, the S&P's down, this stock's doing this stock's doing that. Here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to fast forward, get past all the fluff, and let's talk about what I look at in the markets. And what I look at in the markets is I'm looking at things that the average option trader or the average market trader won't look at. I'm looking at implied volatilities on options because I'm trying myself to create trades that, and again, I'm going to get a little bit might get a little advanced here, but here's what I do. Take a look at Riot Blockchain, for instance, okay? So I'm a holder of Bitcoin. I'm looking at Riot, and I'm seeing Riot shoot up. And if you were to take a look at a chart of Riot, symbol RIOT, and what you'll see on the chart is you'll see a stock that in the past couple of weeks has shot up from, well, in the last 2 weeks, it shot up from 25 to, it hit 84 and change in the pre-markets, in the aftermarkets yesterday, all right? Now, I'm going to show you, I'm going to do the best I can because this is what 55-year-olds do. Take a look at this chart right here, all right? There's your chart. That actually looks pretty good for me showing you a screen, all right? You know what? Let's do this. Let me see if I can bring this down and show you what I'm looking at here on my chart. All right, Riot Blockchain. You see that red line there? In fact, I might even be able to zoom in and show you a little bit more of this. Let's go. Let me go over to Launchpad. I want to bring my pinpoint up. There we go. Now you can see it. See that red line there? All right, I'm going to try to keep this as still as possible. Red line is implied volatility. This is what the option traders looking at right now. All right, option traders see this, and as that line goes up, it tells us that the option premiums are getting more expensive. What they're telling you is look out because the price is going to start exploding. And more importantly, look at the last couple of days. That 290, that's not the price of Riot Blockchain. Price of Riot Blockchain there is trading in the 70s. That 290 is the implied volatility. All right, last week it was around 150 to 160. Implied volatility has doubled. The screen's upside down. Are you kidding me? I'm looking at it. Please tell me is the screen reversed or upside down? Unbelievable. Wow. Okay. Sorry, guys. I thought I could work my way through this and do it more prehistoric, but I'll tell you this. Options on, some of you are saying no, it's not. Yes, it is. Reverse your mirror. It is reversed. Let's try this. All right, let's try this. Does that work? Oh, no, I see it reversed now, guys. Do you see it coming in correctly? It's hard to hold this thing like this. Give me a text real quick. Give me a shout and tell me if you see that actually come in correctly. Yes, yay. Okay. All right. So I'm going to just look through my camera then and not look at the screen. And what I can see is, again, right up here, obviously price is getting high, but implied volatility is getting high. What does that mean for the options? All right, I'm going to show you what that means. So take a look at the option chains. And what we're going to do is we're just going to look at, I don't want to look at this week's because they expire tomorrow. Let's look at those Feb 26 options. Friday expiration, 8 days to expiration. And then over here, instead of 10% above and below stock, we'll make that 50 because that's what I'm having to deal with right now as an option trader. Now, come on down. Take a look at this. Now, for those of you that are looking at this for the very first time, I've got calls on the left. I've got puts on the right. Now, what we're looking at here is, option symbol, yeah. Quotes, yes. This is what I'm interested in, this implied volatility number. Now, as we get closer to the actual strikes, this is the 36 calls you're looking at here. I want to go down, and I'm more interested in looking at where the call options are based on stock price. Here's the stock price. Stock price 70.82. 70 calls. This is with a week to expiration, $12.85. Look at that IV, 301. All right. Now, what do you compare that to? You compare that to an implied volatility, like, for instance, think of the IV on the VIX. All right, where's that at? Let's say it's 20. So this is much, much higher than the IV on the VIX. So if you're long, if you really like Riot Blockchain, you decide I want to buy a call option on Riot Blockchain, you're going to pay $12.85 for that call. Multiply that times 100. That's $1,285 for this call option right now. All right, so what are some ways that we can reduce that risk? And the ways we can reduce that risk are we could look at call spreads. All right, we could look at call spreads, and that would be buying a lower strike call, selling a higher strike call for bullish. All right, there are other ways we could do this. All right, let's remove this. Higher probability trade would be to look at the puts, and you can look at the puts and you say, well, I want to own Riot Blockchain at 70. All right, well, if you really want to own Riot Blockchain at 70, there's a couple ways you can do it. Chris, I just saw your text when we first met George. He was cursing at his equipment not working. I remember that. Oh, how times have changed and how they still remain the same. So what we can do with this particular position is, if you want to acquire, I'm going to set this down right here. If you want to acquire this 70 put, all right. Let me move this where I don't see all that extra nonsense going on. All right, if you want to acquire the stock at 70, you could buy the stock at 70, or if you sold this put option, you'd receive $12.45 or over 12 points, which would then reduce your stock purchase from 70 down to below 58. All right, you're getting $12.45 to have the right to buy, or to be obligated to buy the stock at 70. To me, that's a more probable long-term play. Now, why are you getting so much premium? Because this stock is all over the place. Let's say you wanted to own it at 60. All right, so scroll down and look at the 60 puts. The 60 puts, you could sell those. You could sell the 60 puts and receive $6.60 to sell the 60 puts with a Feb 26 expiration on it. What that means is that now we have the obligation to buy the stock at 60. So you're going to receive $6.60 to be obligated to buy the stock at 60. That means your break even is $60 minus 660. That puts you down in the $53.40 range by next week. All right. So if you've never sold puts before, right? If you've never sold puts before at all, then what you could be looking at here is just simply what you're doing is, again, you're on the hook to buy the stock at 60, but only if the stock goes down and is at or below 60 by February 26. There's a good chance that could happen because this thing exploded to the upside. And so it could just as quickly come down. Now, full disclosure, I can't tell you what it is, guys. But I have a bearish position on Riot Blockchain. And it's not because I'm outright bearish on Riot Blockchain, but I kind of am. The reason why is because what went up fast with GME came back down fast. What went up fast with AMC movie theaters came down fast. And I believe the crowd is pushing this because this stock has been up and it has exploded in the last, it's exploded just in the last couple weeks. And if I were to go back up, and let me bring a stock chart up real quick. I'll put it back on the screen, in the middle of the screen, guys. Don't worry, you'll see the stock chart. All right, so I'm gonna just slide this over just a bit here. Let me angle it down a little bit. And you know what I'm gonna do? I'm actually going to make sure my screen, which I have set at large, I'm gonna bring that to medium. And that way the whole screen will come in and then I can blow it up a little bit. There we go. Well, it's a little bit better. You know what? Got another way to do this. This old school stuff. Okay, here you go. So, so this is, again, what are we looking at here? We're looking at Riot Blockchain once again, but I want to show you, I'm more interested in what's happening on this side of the page. Okay, on this side of the page, you see stock exploded up, right? Okay, it doesn't take a genius to figure out what happened when now that we have hindsight with GameStop. GameStop exploded up and then came right back down. And it came right back down just before it started taking off. So if I were to take this information that I learned as a technical chartist from GameStop and I apply it to Riot, now let's put RIOT back on the screen. I want to look at where Riot really started its takeoff. Where did it start its ascent? It really started its ascent right here. Now, where is right here? Come on over. You'll see it was around 30, all right, before the takeoff. Now, we could come right back down to 30, that 30-40 area. But the big difference between Riot and GameStop is Riot kind of has that underlying Bitcoin working for it, don't you think? So that's something that I'm looking at as I look forward to Riot Blockchain. All right, let's move to, because this is going to be a rather quick live stream, guys. Let's move to what I call my no, you don't want to see the back of my my podcasting room. Let's put this back on. What I want to do is I want to move to most expensive and cheapest options right now. So it gives us an idea where everybody else is. All right. Where is everybody when we just look at what's expensive versus what's cheap? Now, we can look at cheap and expensive options simply by looking at their absolute prices. So for instance, if we were going to look at absolute prices, you might say Amazon has the most expensive options out there. Well, you might not be wrong about that because it has the most expensive stock price. So if I were to just, and I'm not going to throw it on the screen, but I'll just tell it to you here, AMZN. If I look at Amazon, and I just go out and look at the at-the-money options on Amazon. So that'd be an option chain. And, again, if we were looking at Feb 26, for instance, because, options close tomorrow, but they're still expensive. Even a one-day option is expensive with Amazon. But a one-week option on Amazon that's at the money, it's going to cost you almost $52. That's $52 on a stock that's trading above $3,300 a share. Now, let's look at, so $52 on a $33 stock. That's a little more than 1.5% of the stock price with 8 days to expiration, including today. Now, let's look at Riot. And let's talk about not absolutes, but percentages. The absolute on Riot's a $70 stock. Remember, we were looking at the options that expire on February 26th. I'm looking at those right now. The at the money's on that. We're talking about $12.85. Now, $12.85 on a $70 stock. Okay, that's 20%. 1.5% on Amazon. Almost 20% on Riot Blockchain. What that tells me as a trader is the expectations are that Amazon is going to move up or it's going to move down in an area of about 1.5%. That's what the option traders are looking at between now and next week. The expectations with Riot Blockchain is that option traders see that moving higher, being 20% higher or 20% lower by the same time next week. So that's what I call cheap and expensive options relative to themselves. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take it one step further. What we want to do is look at cheap and expensive options relative to where that actual stock has been and its option prices, its at-the-money calls and at-the-money puts over the last year. So it's kind of like taking a look at weather. All right, now I'm going to throw a question out here. And I'd like all of you here to just give me a quick answer on this based on where you live. Who thinks they've got the coldest temperatures right now? Tell me what state you're in and what the temperature is right now. Give me that. Because the reason why I'm asking for that is that we're going to talk about relative temperature in a state, for instance. And we're going to look at that as something that we can use that's really incredibly similar to the way that we chart option prices. So throw some of that at me right now. I see, all right, Minnesota, minus 20. So I don't live in Minnesota. I've never been to Minnesota. All right, the closest I've been to Minnesota is Detroit, Michigan. I've never been to Minnesota. But I would venture to say that over the last year, we're probably closer to the lows that Minnesota is experiencing in a year than its highs. All right, so with David, I'm with you, Florida. I'm not 84. You're probably a little south than me. I live in the Sarasota area during the wintertime, and I think it's 75 degrees out here right now. But if you take a look at Minnesota, because that's the one that really is, in Denver, 15, New Hampshire, 29. Take a look at where your low temperatures are right now, and then think about your high temperatures in the summertime. And then, you've got a pattern. You've got highs and you've got lows. So where are you right now? If you're on the low side, you're almost as cold as you've been in a year. Look at options the same way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run an option chain. And you know what, guys? I'll throw the screen back up so that we can all take a look at this, so you can get an idea of what I'm looking at. But let me bring up, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do something called option rankers. So what we're going to do is we're going to rank all optionable stocks. And I want to look at them to see what's cheap and what's expensive. So come with me on another journey and let me flip the screen. And here we go. And so what you're looking at right now are this now is the most expensive options that are out there. So when I look at these, I'm going to bring this up to show you what we're looking at here. Some of these you're looking at, you're like, I don't know what these are, Tom. I've never seen them before, never heard of them. American Depository IQ. There's MJ. You know what that is. Block, BLOK. That's Amplify. YY Inc. MicroStrategy. Global. That's Global Uranium. That's an interesting one that no one's talking about. There's cannabis. So cannabis right now, both number 2, the ETF and advisor shares, those are in the top 10. Then you've got Tencent Music, you've got Baidu, which is one we all know, and Billy down there at the bottom. Now, what I want to share with you is I'm just going to back this off a little bit, okay? And I'm going to slide this over a little bit more, because what you're going to see now is why these are in the top 10. And the reason they're in the top 10 is because we look at these just slightly different than the average bear. And what I mean by that is that when you see this list, you see what I'm looking at? I see the high IV, the low IV, and the current IV. That's high for the last year, low for the last year, and current. That means at the money options, roughly those near money options, where were they in the most high? Where were they at their most low? And where are they at currently? So as you come down and you look at something like MicroStrategy. So MicroStrategy had a 152.13 high options implied volatility. Its low in the last year was 24. That was the time to be the buyer of calls if you were bullish, or the buyer of puts if you were bearish. Right now, they're more expensive. This top 10, and in fact, even some of them below that, these are the ones you want to look at selling, some sort of option selling premium, because that's just the probabilities. That's the probabilities we're looking at, everyone. I mean, think about this. We could go in. I would love to wish all day long I could go back and buy calls on Riot Blockchain like some people did more than 2 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, when it was trading below 20, because those are the folks that took the risk and that are seeing doubles, triples, 10 times the return, maybe even more. But those days are gone now, because now everybody knows about it. So the fact that everybody knows about it, and you see the live streamers right now that are pushing it higher and talking, they're get the suits. That's the thing I keep hearing. Get the suits. And then it ends up, we know how this cycle ends. It goes from get the suits to, oh, it's just a pullback, to, wow, I hope it goes back up, to what just happened. That's the 4 basic elements of emotional trading, at least what we're seeing now. What we want to do is we want to look at this in an unemotional view. And statistical probability tells us and tells me that we have a better chance of making money by going opposite of the herd, right? So where does Riot Blockchain fit into all this? Well, you got to come down to number 24. Number 24 is Riot Blockchain. I'll put it up here at the top. You can see it right there. 480, that was the high on the implied volatility. By the way, that just happened a couple days ago. 116 is the low, and 273.33 is where we are currently. It's still expensive. It's still one that almost begs to be sold. If I click on Riot Blockchain, we'll get an idea, and we can look at the implied. This is the charts that I look at. All right, these are the charts that I look at, those implied volatility charts, where you can see here's where it's been kind of treading water down here in the 180s, and then spiked down, but now we're up considerably. This tells me this is an option seller's environment, right? If you really like Riot Blockchain to continue to go higher, selling puts might make the most sense. But if you don't want to take that much risk, out of the money credit spreads, whether, and those would be out of the money put spreads if you're bullish, out of the money call spreads if you're bearish. And then there's me, who likes to do a little bit of both, who likes to try to neutralize my portfolio or neutralize the position by trying to take the most risk out of it that I can. Right? There's always going to be risk in any trade that we take. There's also risk in not taking a trade at all. You might say, how's that, Tom? Well, because cash, you look at the US dollar, all right? And I'll show you the risk of not trading right now. So let's go to charts, and let me go to stock charts. And let me throw my list up real quick. So yeah, here comes the S&P going down, and here's the bond market. All right, so if you've been long bonds, you've been getting beat up a lot, but this is the cash market. And more importantly, look at the last 300 days in cash. Now, this is going to get a little weird, but I want to put your attention back to cash. Look over here during the pandemic. UUP was trading at 29. Look where it's come since then. Just above 24, and then it's popping back up to around 24 and a half. That just shows you what happens when you've just been holding on to cash for the last several months. Yeah, it might feel safe, but it's getting cheaper and cheaper as goods and services have gone higher. All right. So let me go back and let me finish up with this. Let's go back to our rankers. I want to go back to our IV percentile rankers, and sorry, I want to go back to my pre-computed ones. Those pre-computed ones where we were looking at the most expensive. So you might say, well, Tom, where's the cheap options? All right, well, let me come over and let's just click on cheap over the last year. What's cheap right now? What's cheap? And cheap is something no one's looking at, or very few people are looking at right now. All right, CNC is cheap. TTMI is cheap. The S&P 500 is cheap because right now, the high, remember last year when we were in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, the S&P had implied volatility at 80. The low was 12. Right now it's at 16. So even though it's 1655, still cheap relative to where the high was. Microsoft is cheap. Peloton is as cheap as it's been. This has been quite an expensive option, but it's come down in both price and in implied volatility. Altria, Philip Morris, cheap. And then, of course, Activision Blizzard, cheap. Manulife Financial. These are the areas where it's cheap to be a buyer of options. All right. So that is where we are, folks, when we look at what's cheap and what's expensive, and what's going up versus what's going down. So anyway, guys, I will figure out this live stream thing. I've got a couple of hardware pieces up my sleeve to really kind of force that screen that I just showed you, so that I'm not showing it to you on a webcam, right? Because obviously that is not the way I want to do these live streams going forward. But I'll figure them out. I might just do several more tests between now and Monday. But my plan is every Monday at noon, I want to go through for about an hour or so. I want to talk about the overall markets, and I want to talk about what's going on with, right now. I mean, FANG stocks have really been off the radar. If you get out of mainstream media, you don't hear a lot about FANG stocks. What are you hearing a lot about right now? Riot. You're hearing a lot about GameStop. You're hearing a lot about AMC, CCIV. And I want to go through all those, and I wanted to go through all those with you today, but on a higher resolution than what I'm doing right now. So we'll figure it out. All right. And, this old guy will figure it out for sure. Anyway, final thoughts, everyone, as we kind of go through. Yeah, I mean, I could do Zoom calls, but I really want to navigate. I want to move this to YouTube for the YouTube community. All right, I want to do this for the YouTube community because I think, I see a lot of YouTube stuff out there right now, and nothing on YouTube in terms of what we do. I don't see anything that is relevant out there that you can't find anywhere else. And in fact, it's quite the opposite. I see a lot of YouTubers out there that seem to be very emotional, and they push that emotion, and you can get sucked into that. And so I don't want you to do that. I want you to I want you guys to learn from me, learn from others that have been occupying this space, not for the last couple of months or last couple of weeks, but years and even decades. And I show my age when I do that, but I want to show you a couple of things that I've learned over the last years and over the last decades, and where others are not going. All right, rules-based trading, how we back test things, and so and in fact, looking at things like cheap and expensive options relative to where they've been, because nobody's doing it that way, guys. And we're in a business, all right? If you want to call trading a business and not a hobby, you got to realize this is a business that is a finite business. And a finite business means that when you win, somebody else is losing. You are taking money from someone else. And so, be it the suits or be it the novice traders, right? We have to learn to do it better than everybody else, because that's the business that we're in. It's not like we're in Amway and we're kind of helping everybody succeed. It's not the way it works. So, in order to do that, I think that we have to build upon rules-based, pattern-based trades. Looking at patterns, and there's no guarantees. I'll be the first one to mention that. There are no guarantees going forward in trading, no matter how good something looks. But what I do, and what I want to share with you, is to spot opportunities that happen over and over and over again, and then look at alternative ways of trading those other than simply buying stocks and going long, or God forbid, shorting stocks if you can do that. That's very capital intensive. So I like to look at spotting those opportunities. And then step 2 is try to find an alternative trade that either had a high historical probability of working or has a high statistical probability going forward. Maybe sometimes we can find a bit of both. And then it's just a matter of planning, executing, and managing the trades. So I got a lot of cool things coming, all right? As soon as I can figure out how to get the screen on YouTube, I got a lot of cool things coming, like, for instance, showing you even some things we got happening right here. All right, so let me bring up my this guy right here. All right, I want to show you these. I want to show you some of the stuff that we can get right here. That we can do right from our phone. So I have a lot of that to share with you as well. All right. So once again, I apologize for not having all my ducks in a row, and just, it looked like everything was going to work, but somehow my YouTube channel is not connecting to the software that I have that's supposed to drive all this. I'll figure this out. It's not going to take me long. I think I needed a live stream or two to really figure this out, but we'll get it. All right, so that'll be step 1. Step 2 is to get the broadcast working. So again, I apologize, folks, in advance for not having this in a more clear, concise format. But we will figure this out. We won't even have to figure it out together. That's my job to figure this out. I hope it's your job to come back and learn from me. All right, so guys, thank you all very much for hanging out with me. Need more training on credit spreads? We'll do that, Sheem. We will definitely do that for you. We'll talk about credit spreads more. And really, again, what I want to do here is my job on this channel is to help educate you and take you where most people aren't going right now. All right. The one thing you'll never hear out of me is I think it's going up. I hope it's going up. I wish it's going up. I hope it doesn't go down. To me, that's not trading. That's gambling. And there are far more better venues you can gamble in. For us in Florida, it's a couple of the Hard Rock casinos offer that. They offer drinks and they offer lighting and they offer a nice ambiance. You can't get that here. All right. So if your goal is to make 1,000 to 1 on stocks, you'd be better off in Las Vegas or in any one of the numerous casinos in the country, or even in the world, because the entertainment value is going to be there. For this venue, however, we really want to try to, have consistency, and consistency means doing some homework. All right. So thank you all very much for hanging out with me. I got a podcast that's coming here tomorrow too. So hopefully you guys can check out the podcast. We do videos here at Tom's Trading Room on Mondays, sometimes on Tuesdays if we have the day off on Mondays. But my plan is to incorporate the live stream in as well. So have a great weekend, guys. Thank you for joining me. Again, take a look at those cheap and expensive options. What I will do is I'll talk a little bit more about this on the podcast with Chris, because we'll have the podcast out here sometime tomorrow. I'll have it on the channel. And I'll be talking to you then. Thanks, everybody. See ya.